Good evening, or good day, or whenever it is for you. I am Graham Gordon Thomas. I am the rational environmentalist. When it comes to climate change, you have to ask yourself, what is it all about? That is the politics of it. Well, I'll try to explain. What it is really about is diminishing the living standards of people in the West. That's basically what the left are about and the elite are about. Because they don't actually work anymore, the politicians. They don't work actually for the people of the country they're elected in anymore. They work for major corporations at a global scale, and they sign contracts within the systems they've drummed up to subsidise energy companies, but then basically they're just printing money or taking a strip mine in the economy and pretending they're doing something about climate, when all they're really doing is monetising. That's what Paris Accord was, if anyone's actually investigated it. Paris Accord is why basically how could they monetise or work out how the corporations and financiers could make more and more money, and the people involved, of course, could make more and more money out of the idea we're doing something about climate change. Well, actual fact, China and India is still going to be increasing their CO2 emissions right out to 2030. So why Australia is carrying on like pork chop and panicking, we've got to do something about climate change, and brainwashing its children that it's doing something about climate change, has to be explained for what it is. What it is by making energy or electricity more and more expensive. That means each dollar, if you say each dollar is a unit of energy, just for example, and it costs us more and more dollars to buy a set amount of electricity, the more and more energy, which is your money, can be seen exactly the same thing. Because if you work for it, or however it's made, that money, however it's gained, more and more money equals more energy required to pay for that electricity. So this electricity bill was gaining, expanding, compounding, is actually taking more and more of the people's energy to pay for. So it's consuming more of the people's income and time to pay for these electricity bills. In other words, it's getting them used to a lower and lower living standards, where they're paying all the bills out to these subsidised corporations our politicians have signed contracts to. That our politicians have signed up to this one world government or something, or whatever they're about, which means they're about lowering living standards to get people to feel, if you're less psychologically empowered. Because if you're stressed, bill stress all the time, where you don't know which bill to pay, you've got or your credit card's blown out, and you've got your electricity bill, your housing payment, your rent to pay, or your tyres, your emissions to keep happy, and all that thing to go, you can no longer go on strike about this, because years ago you could, because life was a lot simpler. Your bills were simple. Now they're very, very complex, and you're tied down in debt. So they've got you by the short and curly, so to speak, if you've got so overburdened with cost, because you've got into the consuming society. And then on top of and while they've sucked you into consuming society with easy credit, they've then started to bump up the electricity prices to really put the squeeze on with their high rents. So they're really using electricity, the high cost of it and high cost of housing, to put the squeeze, really put the squeeze on people, on the working people, on the productive people, is having the squeeze put on them by the social elite. They're not intellectual elite, not academic elite at all, not philosophers or scientific elite, just a bunch of people who've taken power, almost like a peasants' revolution, but with money. Instead of a peasants' revolution they had in China, a peasants' revolution in Australia is by the people who've got money and powerful graft are being grafted into politics, because they will do what they pay or say what they're paid to say. These people have taken over, and they will say anything at all to fulfil the contracts with the party. And that has nothing to do, really, in realistic terms, with running the economy so it improves and increases for the good of the people. In fact, they're doing the very, very opposite to that with the energy policy and with housing policy. And they've got no remedial policies for the last 10 years or many more years than that. Since about the year 2000, they've had no remedial policies whatsoever to compensate the regressive and negative effects of the policies they have. And by banging up electricity prices, they're going to make sure more and more people get used to a less and less or lower living standards. Then they're expecting people to work for longer and longer, even though their living standards are lower all the time, going to be lowered. And if they keep, as it keeps saying, electricity prices are going to go up another 20% next year, another 20% next year and the year after, when the Greens are telling out and out lies that wind is going to be cheaper, it's going to come down, it was an outright lie, then it's going to be a disaster for more and more people. And that our politicians are signing these contracts and can't change the law and do the law like this, so that, alright, we're going to try and take a challenge of climate change on, which is sort of stupid really from Australia's position when it's exporting so much coal. But why can't they then at least make sure that everyone, no matter what the income is, have got a sort of equal amount of power up to a certain percentage or certain point, no matter what income, at a minimum cost, so people on pensions just pay a set amount, $15 a week out of the pension, and then keep warm. People on the dole pay $10 a week out of the dole and be able to keep warm, etc. That way, the millionaires and billionaires who run the power companies aren't being subsidised by people on pensions on the dole, and they're not making, these millionaire politicians are making people on the dole and pensions suffer. Like they're trying to punish people who are on the dole. They're creating more and more people, unemployed people by their system, then they're punishing them for being on the dole. Well, we're going to create a lot of unemployed people by putting the power of the cost of electricity up, and then we're going to punish them some more by putting up electricity up again. Then they're punishing pensioners for being pensioners. It's like they don't like people. That's how it comes across. They don't like the rest of society. They like their own friends where they're sycophantic to, but they don't like the rest of society. Otherwise, the systems they would have developed to take the challenge of climate change would have made sure that they would have a sliding scale of fiscal sliding scale system, so that the people on lower incomes pay a less amount of money for electricity. Otherwise, it's not fair that the elite are not making any sacrifices. They sit around all warm and cosy, bragging about they're doing something about climate change by stopping coal being burnt, while the people are living off it. The same ones are making millions out of it by exporting to China, by subsidising their incomes and their superannuations and all that, their retirement funds and their housing. The same people are sponging off the workers, or then saying you have to have less and less electricity because you're saving the climate. They're not saving the climate. You are. The pensioners, the people in the dole, and the low income people, they're the ones having been forced to make the sacrifice by the elite, by Malcolm Turnbull, by Bill Shorten and Do Natale, and all these people who are very, very wealthy, don't give a damn about the people at the bottom of the ladder who are making it worse for them, because they're trying to get them, their contract is to try to get living standards down as possible, much as possible, in the next few years, as fast as they can, so people get used to it. And then they're brainwashing poor kids at school, saying, oh, we're all doing something about climate, demand something's done about climate. Like what? Wave a wand, it's madness. And these people want you to vote for them. I suggest you don't vote for them, because unless you do something about electricity prices, anyone who's in business, who's on a pension, who's on the dole, who's at work, has to do a real job for a living, don't bother voting for these people, because they're not working for you, they're working for themselves, and making sure you've got to work longer and longer hours per week, or more of your income goes each week to pay for your electricity bill, which is your means that if you're on the dole or pension, which is already a subsidised system, then they're taking that money off you to subsidise further electricity company that's already being subsidised by other schemes that they've drummed up. And it's about time people woke up to what's really happening here, because it's not nice. No one's a nice person who makes another person suffer. I'm going to sacrifice you for my ideals. Really. And that's what they're doing. That's what the left are doing. That's what the ABC are into. Sacrificing someone else's kids while theirs keep nice and warm and snug. I am Graham Gordon Thomas. I am the rational environmentalist. Thank you.